Take one.
Hey guys, my name is Faisal Hashmi and I'm the writer and director of the horror short film Wicken. Thank you so much for the amazing response on the film. It has had an incredible festival run and the hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube have just been very encouraging to us, as well as reading your comments. And the idea of this video is to go behind the scenes on how we made this incredibly micro budget horror short film with the resources that we had available to us. Now the way Wicken came to be is I hadn't shot a horror short film in a long time and I was itching to make one, especially because Halloween was around the corner. So my friend Jules, who ended up co-producing the film, moved into a new apartment, and as I was checking it out, as what happens with me when I'm looking at any apartment, I was like, this seems like a good apartment to shoot a horror film in. So I asked her, hey, could I shoot a horror film in your apartment? And she was game. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went home and I just started writing a script.
I don't really know why I agreed to this because I'm not sure how I will feel about this place after the film comes out. So please don't make it too scary, Faisal.
So I'm a huge fan of horror films that are about curses and just passing them around, the rules and the mythology behind all of that. So Wicken was definitely inspired by the best of those in the horror genre, including It Follows, The Ring, as well as short films from David Sandberg like Lights Out. But I wanted to do something unique within that subgenre. So I started thinking of what hasn't been done before and eventually clicked an idea of what if there is a curse that can only be passed to people you love by actively betraying them and screwing them over. And I thought that's a unique idea. That's something I hadn't seen been done before. That's something that has a moral dilemma to it, something that people can debate about, something that kind of brings a new equation to the whole idea of just passing it to usually strangers or somebody else. So my advice to all of you guys is to find your own unique spin on a horror short film, whether it's a unique mythology, a unique idea on how the rules of the genre works, a unique visual, something that makes your film memorable among a sea of other horror short films that are being put on YouTube every single day. So the next step was character design. Now I already had a villain named the Wicken herself in the script. I just didn't know how she looked like. So the process came of actually finding visual inspirations. Pro tip, Pinterest. Now I know that sounds like a weird suggestion, but Pinterest has been a huge help in actually finding the way Wicken looks. There are so many visual boards online of finding horror designs and horror artwork. You can just make your own private board there and just save images that you can find from online and just figure out inspirations of how you want your character to look like. And that's exactly what happened. After pulling in a few images, I knew exactly how I wanted the Wicken to look. Now the next step was props and wardrobe. Now as I told you, this is a micro budget short film, which means I was not only the writer, the director, the producer, the editor, the DP, but also the prop department, wardrobe department. I was just figuring out and doing all of these hats together because I didn't want to wait. I just wanted to make this film. So the next few days were just spent just to find exactly what I was looking for. A few things ended up being too classy, a few things ended up being too expensive to ship from outside. Eventually I did settle upon the exact wardrobe. It's not a process that I love to do. I wish I had the right help to be able to help me with that, but you know, you gotta make your film. If you don't care about it, no one else will. We have expert prop department, as you can see, just breaking pieces of wax.
It took years of experience to learn how to break wax.
It's an art, is what we're trying to say. This is, you know, not everybody can do this.
No.
So the next step was trying to figure out what resources I had available to me. Now Jules had already given her apartment for us to be able to shoot, so that was wonderful. I also personally own a Canon C200 cinema camera, as well as Canon was really generous in giving us a bunch of cinema lenses for us to use. Now hold up, you might be saying, hey, this guy's talking about shooting a no-budget horror short film, but he has a $7,000 camera and really expensive cinema lenses. I agree. A lot of people will not have access to the things that I had. But even if I didn't have access to those things, I would have still made these short films with whatever camera I had. In fact, 10 years ago, I shot a very similar short film with a Canon 600D, which is a $700 camera, and a Canon 50mm lens, which is a $90 lens. And if I didn't have the C200, which I personally own, I didn't have to rent this out, I didn't have to pay anybody to get access to this camera. If I own it, that's a free resource. If I didn't own it, I would have shot this on a 5D, I would have shot this on a 6G. Whatever Canon camera or Sony camera or Panasonic camera I had access to, I promise you the film wouldn't have changed creatively at all, even if I shot on a smaller camera. Now in terms of lighting, I own two basic LED lights which I used on the film, but I was also able to borrow two Hive RGB lights from a photographer named Mansoor, who was kind enough to lend it to me. So that really helped in getting the look of the film. Do you have like an eraser or something? Like, it's still skipped.
Let's see if it goes away with water.
BTS washing.
Oh,
God. Oh.
The next stage was casting. I wanted an Arab girl as a protagonist, so I was able to find my lead actress Noor from actually another short film that I watched, and Stuart, who plays Ethan, and Hannah, who plays the Wicken. Just reaching out to them with the idea, telling them how long it's going to take, that it's a fun project to volunteer on. They connected with the idea and they were game. Now that I had all these elements, it was time to get shooting. So actually the first day of the film was just a few hours work, but getting Stuart inside an apartment to be able to shoot all his Skype bits as Ethan. Now here's some footage from the day. This is day one of Wicken. This is almost like a half day. Switched off pretty much all of the lights in the house because they were a lot warmer than I wanted it to be. So we're using an aperture LED light and this Lishua, very soft edge light to kind of bounce it and create this a lot more daylight kind of a setup. And then in camera, we're just grading it a little bit more cooler.
Hi, my name is Stuart and I'm playing the character of Ethan. He comes across as a bit of a bad guy, but he's just trying to deal with his own problems, and unfortunately he has to sacrifice someone he loves in order to save himself. Is he a bad guy, or is he just doing what anyone else would do? I personally don't think he's too much of a bad guy, but I like the dynamic of him coming across that way.
So after that day was wrapped, we scheduled one long 12-hour shooting day to shoot the majority of the film that takes place from Nora's point of view. We can only start shooting this movie at 6 p.m. onwards because the movie takes place at night, so we had to wait for sunset to drop. So the idea was to shoot at 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. on one shooting day. And everything was going well until we got a shock news. Our lead actress had scheduling issues and she wasn't able to commit to a 12-hour shooting day all of a sudden. That suddenly was a curveball that we didn't see coming at all, and we had to scramble to figure out what to do. So the idea was to shoot the movie over 2 shooting days. We would shoot all of the second half over one day, which is all the horror stuff of the film. That included Hannah, who plays the Wicken, so we can wrap her out of the equation and just shoot the first half of the film, which is all the early build-up and the early conversations on a second day that she was able to give to us. Now this meant that we had to shoot the film in non-chronological order. Now I'm a huge fan of shooting films in chronology because it helps the actors, it helps me as a director to really get to the place that I'm going in the order of the story. But you play the cards you get, and I'm still really happy with how these scenes turned out.
She just vanished.
You just disappeared, like, it's like, I was like, what? I didn't move the camera. I'm like, I needed to craft Wicken visually, make her scary, so I needed to find the right makeup artist, and that's where Abby came in. Now, Abby is someone that I met at a workshop that I was giving. Then she connected with me on Instagram, and the moment I was watching her Instagram, I saw all the cool makeup effects she has done. And so I was able to just save her contact and be like, whenever I'm making a horror short film that requires these things, I know who to call. And this was the right project to call her for.
I'm Abby. I'm self-taught. YouTube has a lot of things to teach you. Mainly, I love horror, gory stuff, whatever that has blood in it. I'm always there. We had to do her from like head to hands. It took about 3 hours, 2.5 hours. I really think that the actresses hate me because that's what I do to people. Usually people ask me to do, like, just come up with a look that's scary and that's it. For this specific movie, the thing that I liked, or Faisal had a character already. We went through a couple of reference photos until we came up with the final look. Having a specific look to work or to achieve, that was very interesting. He always came in to check if everything is going like the right way or this way he imagined it would be.
Oh my god, that's creepy AF.
That's beautiful.
Holy shit.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm the Wicken. Actually, I was going around scaring people. First time for me in horror movie, so that's exciting experience. Wearing a lot of creepy makeup, messing out around.
The monster is pretty creepy. I've told her several times to stay away from me. If she gets near me again, there will be some violent actions.
Have a shot of you behind the curtain again.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Hannah was completely blind whenever she had those bandages on, which led to a couple of bloopers on set. Stop. Yeah. One great tip for directing a horror short film is to find one good-ass scare that you can implement in the film. If you can find 2, even better. These 2 scares will be the most memorable parts of your film. For me, the first of those was when Ethan points to the curtain and you see the curtains move. I thought that was a creepy moment and I hadn't seen it done before. So I was like, if I can have that moment in there, I think it's gonna creep people out. The second scare, and the closest this film comes to having a jump scare, is the finger snap moment, which is a really important scene for me. I had this on the page and I was really making sure that I get this on the day in terms of makeup, in terms of camera angles, in terms of the build up to it. So these 2 scares were, I think, the cornerstone of this entire short film. These scares are the ones that count. So find 1 or 2 really good scares and you have an effective horror short film that people will actually remember. But the most important thing in a horror short film is build up. Now a scare can just last for a few seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, maybe even 1 second. But the build up to that, 30 seconds, up to a minute. It's, imagine a roller coaster ride. The dread of the roller coaster going all the way up to a certain location is far more scary than just the drop, because people are on the edge of the seat. right? They're just waiting to see what happens when it happens. They haven't seen this movie before. Don't just focus on the scares. Make sure that the lead up to the scares is as exciting as the scare itself. A great technical tip is if your film requires a lot of darkness, which a lot of horror short films do, actually shoot a little bit brighter than necessary, because you can always have the flexibility to drop it down in post, but it's harder to take something that's very low lit and actually bring it up without introducing noise into the picture. In my case, I was shooting on Canon's Cinema Raw Light format, which meant I had even more flexibility in post, so I was shooting even brighter than I needed to be, and you can see the difference right here. Okay, so this is the end of day one. We just wrapped on Hannah, who is playing our Wicken. This is the lamp that's actually getting hotter and hotter. To do this, we use this Yongnuo light wand to kind of simulate a candle effect, as well as an actual lantern, which is very heavy. Yes, Hannah? Of course. Yeah.
Indeed.
She had to hold it for like 10-15 minutes straight, and I can't even hold it for like 2 minutes. So after these 2 main shooting days, we actually went back to the apartment for a reshoot day for a few hours, just to get a few pickup shots that we weren't happy with, so just to redo them again. But after that, the only thing that was remaining was the final shot of the film, the scene with Aisha, the sister. Now, originally we had an actress who backed out. Then we had another actress who backed out. But that wait didn't actually stop me. I started editing the film, cutting it together, just so I'm not wasting any time. And it actually took us 4 weeks to find the right actress who finally came on board. Her name is Sally, and she's not even an actress. She is a video producer who was happy to come on for a few hours in an Airbnb that we booked to just shoot this final scene. And this is a few highlights of that day. This is day 5 of Wicken. We switched off this big bulb at the top. We used this LED panel to control the amount of light that we want in here. There is an awesome RGB wand here. Kind of simulate a laptop's kind of white light. And if you're wondering where the sound guy himself, it is, there you go, being a stand-in for the Wicken. This is Sally.
First, you want to meet the baby?
Of course, yeah, so we want to talk about the baby. Oh, yeah, exactly. So as you can see, we managed to find this really, really authentic looking baby. You know it's great acting if when she had to like pretty much pretend that this was real for the last like 2 hours.
It is real, at least to me. The way I played her, she's kind of a little bit naive. And she got busted. Her own sister played her, literally.
Do we know what gender? It's a Takai, right? Like it's a baby male.
No, it's a girl. It's
a girl?
It's pink.
Of course,
Dude.
doesn't really matter, but...
Okay, not to choose the gender.
Exactly,
but
yeah.
it's my
Let's
own,
not assume genders.
it's my baby. I'm assuming it's a girl.
Okay,
I don't care
that's
what
fair.
you think. Yeah.
Actually, shooting that last scene so late was a blessing in disguise, because in the interim of finding this actress, I actually had a better idea for the scene, which is to make Aisha a mother for a newborn infant, which makes the scene a lot creepier, a lot darker, and just the ramifications of what happens after the credits roll are just much more frightening. Now with this film, as with any horror short film, sound is a huge factor. I knew exactly what kind of feeling I wanted, so I could talk to my sound designer Kane about what I needed for each scene.
This film completely relies on post-production, so I'm trying to get as much as I can on location. Breathing sounds, footsteps, and lots of silent room tone.
In this key scene from the finale, I used a mix of sound effects and enhanced breathing sounds to build up tension.
A music score, especially for the second half of the film, is really, really important. I wanted a composer who had some horror experience, and I was able to find a Swedish composer, Isak Olsson, and we spoke, and he was interested in the project, and we just hit it off from there. And all of the set footage that you're watching is all thanks to Joachim Gonzalez, who was just wonderful on set, just helping us capture a lot of footage. And fun fact, he's actually the lead actor of my next short film, Amber. So stay tuned for that one. And that was it. Now look, things are not going to be perfect. If I had a lot more time, a lot more resources, I would have done a few things differently. I would have extended a few scenes, but that's okay. The idea of an independent filmmaker is to be able to take the resources that you have, the limitations that you have, and do the best that you can with the things that are available to you. And that's exactly what I tried to do. And that's exactly what makes a film versus an idea in your head that you're just waiting for the right resources to come along. I have a finished film at the end of a few weeks of work, a film that took me to the US, where I did an actual tour across October, watching my film across New York, Philadelphia, Scranton, Phoenix, Arizona, Los Angeles, so many places that I was able to go and actually watch an audience from a different part of the world enjoy a film that I made all the way in Dubai, thousands and thousands of miles away. To be able to watch my film at a drive-in cinema, which is the first time I've ever been to one, because they don't exist in Dubai and they barely exist in the United States, to be actually having my film play at one of those at a film festival was insane. And that's what it matters, to have a film that you can be proud of, and a film that can just teach you experiences that you can take to your next film, and then to the next, and then to the next. until you're a better filmmaker. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was of any use to you. If you're making any short film, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this video and if you learned anything that you're going to take forward onto your own projects. And please subscribe to the channel below. This is the first time that I'm actually on camera talking about the process of making a film, but I want to do that a lot more. So in the next couple of months, you're going to see a lot of videos about me talking about the writing process, the directing process, the editing process, just things that I've learned over the last 10 years. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.